Hello and welcome to week two, or no, Tournament Lab 2. Yeah, no, week two. Tournament Lab 2, week two, finals presented by Nerds United and Charles. Charles will be joining us in a second. Let me hide this and let's go look at what's happening. So we have the just mic check 1 2. We have the Fairfax Diamond Cutters versus the Charlotte Aviators TBD. So yeah, we're going to be doing something a little different than the normal stream that Charles has been driving. We're going to be taking a little laid back approach. We're gonna look at some stats. We're gonna see how these teams got here. We're not necessarily gonna be doing play by play. So yeah. So we have Aster here with us right now.
Hello,
And
everybody.
Charles will be joining shortly.
Uh, just wanted to add, I was looking through my database. This is going. Fairfax Diamond Cutters have one weekly tournament win going to this finals, and Charlotte Aviators have four. So just thought I'd share that with everybody as we start going through first of many stats we're going to throw at you tonight. Um, everybody hear me as well as Exto?
I always worry about that. It says things are coming in well. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank so we have a minute and 35 seconds before the first sim of the finals. Let's take a quick look at why is nothing working. Let's take a quick look at not this. First, the Fairfax Diamond Cutters. So here's their lineup. To be fair, I don't know how this tournament works. But I think the Diamond Cutters have been doing fairly well in last week and this week. Anything you see here that you want to kind of highlight?
So can you share your screen in Discord so I can see it a little clearer?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. And Charles, are you in here yet?
Yes, I am. How's it going?
Excellent. Welcome. I'm glad you could join us. We haven't
Yeah,
gotten
thanks.
we haven't gotten too far as yet. Okay, now we have the stream. So let me see if I can blow that up so I can see it a little better. Um, so it's interesting. I took a quick look at Fairfax Diamond Cutters lineup when we were in the semifinals, and for pitching, really went very high on movement and kind of at the almost ignoring the other factors. If you look at Grover Loudermilk, Red Munger, and Kurt Fullerton, they're really low, high, low pitchers, and it's not a pitching profile that you see used very often. But it's been very effective, in this format. My theorizing and looking at kind of the numbers and what I think would work for 1998 settings was I was going to go with high, low players. And generally speaking, to get most of the high, low players, you weren't quite getting this high a movement based on the player pool. But it looks like Fairfax Diamond Cutters went for the extreme of the movement at the giving up a lot of stuff and a lot of control. So seems to have worked out here. Be interesting to see if this turns out to be the strategy going forward.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they have only given up 25 homers in how many games have they played? Certainly, that's going to be a much better rate. For example, their semifinal opponents gave up 46.
it's 35 games. So
Yeah, so the semifinal opponents, Crozet gave up 46, and then Charlotte Aviators have given up 38. So that's a pretty significant difference.
And if we look at last week's stats, roll for the whole tournament, teams let up 1.25 home runs per 9 innings. So 25 in 35 games is almost half that.
Yeah, and there's a second thing this build's done, which I think is unique. Almost everyone in this era has gone with these really heavy power profiles because it is a heavy power era. And this is really a defense profile. So Fairfax is first in ZR. I understand that's somewhat of a counting stat, but still first in the tournament in ZR, 19th in the tournament in defensive efficiency. So they're basically just trying to keep the ball in the ballpark, expecting everything's going to be put into play, and really focusing on putting a defense behind him. And that seems to have worked surprisingly well. It's not the build I expected would be successful here.
I think one thing I saw that was really interesting was that 50 stuff equated to around 5 to 7K per nine, which was a little unexpected. I would have thought that that would be much lower, but
Yeah, I wonder if that's because everyone's going with these heavy power profiles that strike out a lot, and
oh.
so you can get away with a little bit less stuff and still take the free outs.
So the Diamond Cutters did take game one, uh,
All right.
6-2. I apologize that my tournaments don't quite pop, but let's take a look at that box score and see what happens. So really for Fairfax is Buzz Artlett. He went 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs, raising his OPS to 882. It's surprising because he's a power guy for a bronze, but for a tournament like this, it's a little surprising. Charlotte Aviators had Irv Young, so again we're looking at another guy with 100 plus movement. He's a lefty, so Arlett being a righty gets a bit of the platoon advantage.
Yeah. So this is actually another thing. I haven't found a good way to kind of work out the numbers on this, but there's also a big advantage that Fairfax has with the two extra off days. They've got their rotation set where if this goes seven, they're having their two strongest starters go twice, whereas Charlotte is kind of working from the back end right now.
Yeah, that's a fairly well rested bullpen. 3, 4, 5, four relievers at 100%. Wickoff being the stopper, he's at 80. If we go look at Charlotte,
Yeah, no, what I meant more is just that if this goes seven, the two starters that Charlotte's throwing twice are going to be Young and Plank.
it's interesting because the Aviators threw Young and Blank as their two. If it does go to seven as well, so
No, sorry, no, yeah. No,
so
sorry,
it'd
no, I
be.
meant the Aviators. Whereas,
Oh, I see. And then they got Pennick and Gornichki,
yeah.
who is
So that's a
outstanding.
pretty big advantage.
Yep, for sure.
Another card I was really surprised to see that both the finalists are playing is Spotswood Poles. I don't know if that's a card you had looked at much for this format.
No,
Um,
the one thing that was kind of interesting is if we see it here. So, who's this? Fairfax has Spotswood at a 78% clip, but 26 stolen bases. So that's a 2 WSB. The person that got me, I think it wasn't Sandy Thompson. It was if we go and look at, oh, it is Spotswood Poles.
Yeah. Well, but Poles also has that 99 range. He sort of fits this defensive build.
Yeah, I
So
definitely
I
agree with
just
you,
would have,
Charles.
yeah.
Uh, if you're gonna go with those pitchers as your starting rotation, I think you almost have to use someone like Poles in center field. Like similar amount of points. I went with um, is it Vince Namaggio? Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's
I
the
couldn't
eligible
remember.
one.
Yeah, so I went with Vince Namaggio. There's a 79, pretty decent defense and center field, but only 84 range, but has huge power. And looking at the stats from last week, it looks like he got used pretty significantly and was was very productive. Had a 431 WOBA, whereas Poles was 317. Um, and there's a pretty
I
big
mean,
trade off in terms of the bat.
I'm really shocked to see Poles because it just feels like the card is completely wrong for an era where, the whole point in 1998 is essentially let's crank up the power and really value that. And yet, both finalists at least are running Poles. And so I think this is one thing that's kind of a really good lesson for roster building that I don't recall either of us discussing on our streams.
Po-
So, especially in a tournament like this, you're not going to be able to do everything. You're making sacrifices somewhere. But I think you want to give yourself a shot to win if you hit the meta correctly. Especially where we don't know what the meta is. So, what I really like about what Fairfax is doing here, they're running something that, yeah, it's not what everyone else is running, as you pointed out. And some of the time that's just going to mean that you don't get the meta right, that, everyone else has it right and the build doesn't work. But it's a build where if you did happen to hit the meta right, it kind of all works together. It's not just kind of running the high movement pitchers. It's saying, okay, if we're really hoping that all you have to do is keep the ball in the ballpark and run around and that can be a winning strategy, let's really lean into that and kind of build the whole roster that way.
it's a little surprising too because Beckwith, I don't know if it's a card pool issue, but like Beckwith has 74 infield range and he's a 64 rated shortstop. But if you look at his fielding stats, his zone rating is still 1.5. Like I'm kind of curious. What are the aviators running?
But I wonder if that's because other people are just running sort of even worse shortstops in order to get the offense.
Frankie Austin. So like I think I also ran Frankie Austin. But yeah, okay, so that's 6.7 zone rating. Who did I had? I had Scales at a 79. I guess a lot of people are maybe running Scales who have him.
I ended up running Scales at third and trying Pythias Russ, but I think based on my results in this, you really don't want to take advice from me on this build right now.
Yeah, with on that note, let's take a look at some Google slides. So, you want
Okay.
to run us through the bounties?
And by the way, while you put those slides up, this is a good chance to kind of load game two in the background if you wanted to not show that result.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, the Brattleboro piece, whose manager is Das, defeated me in the second round. The Castrofil Mashers, Seawit, defeated Exta Forest, also in the second round. The Portland Mavericks, who I misspelled their name horribly, I apologize, defeated Charles in the first. And then the Discord Drama Llamas defeated Durden in the first round as well. So none of the four of us did particularly well.
No,
Which
I got swept in the first round, so Portland absolutely crushed me.
well, and Extaforus got a bye with a blank roster in the first round. So we didn't really acquit ourselves very well. I won, and I won in the first round against a team that went with a 3-man rotation, and only 8 pitchers. So I don't think we really won a single round of like actual legitimate, like facing another team that was prepared for this tournament. So
I'm just gonna pretend that this was our deciding we wanted to be generous with the bounties this week.
exactly, we wanted to
Can,
make
can,
sure
can, we,
everybody
can, we,
got
can
their
we get
bounties
away with
early.
pretending that? Make sure that we really give some teams a. Can we pretend that?
I think let's go with that.
Okay.
So what were the bounties again?
15,000 perfect points.
15,000. Well, congratulations to our winners. I know Seawit is hard on
Hard
his
pressed.
luck.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure that 15K will do him well.
Well, if you quick sell the champion Jackie plus the 15,000, that's 35,000 points. You can probably buy a pretty decent player for that.
You could
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
get one of the new diamonds that got released.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh, uh, how do I hide scores? I don't think I can hide scores from.
So what you do is while you have this slide up, you can if you're stuck, you can always peek at it. Is one option. Or if you prefer, hold on. I can get it. You want me to do a play-by-play on this one? I can do that
No,
too.
no.
Just let me know if you want me to connect.
I'm just wondering how to. Oh, if I hide my own scores, then it hides everyone's scores.
Yeah.
It hides everyone's scores. Then you
Okay.
click on the scores tab.
We're learning how this is being done as we go. Ah, here we go.
But you still don't want to show that. But you still want to be careful showing that one on stream because it will show. So unfortunately, although it hides scores, it does not hide the team's records.
I
And
see that now.
so And so you will get a preview of what happened in game 2 that you don't want to show on stream.
So if we go here,
That you don't want to, yeah, you want to do that, but if you're streaming it, then you're showing everyone the result that way.
oh, I see.
So
Well,
before you switch to that, you want to click back, click back a day.
oh, there we go. Okay.
But you want to do that before you pop it back up on stream.
Well, you learn
If you
something
wanted to
new.
not show the result.
You learn something new every day. How many of you knew what the result is that haven't didn't watch this? Well, regardless, let's just take a look at what's happening in the box score. Diamond Cutters win again.
Shutout
So
even, huh?
shutout. So I think the Aviators are scrambling here. Ellerbay, he got a double against Plank.
That's it. So LRB is another card that I got to be honest, I've never thought that card could be playable in any format whatsoever. It has 0 bat, huge glove,
I'm,
right? That's the card.
I made a joke of this
Um,
card the other day on one of the streams. I was like, "What is this card?" Because it showed up as 99 range and 108 infield arm. I was like, "What is this card?"
the glove. I mean, this is basically a defensive replacement. You know, but actually, now that I look at that, so he's also got. If you pull up the card, he's also got a 97 sack bunt.
Yeah,
So I wonder if what you do is you play this card in a format like this, you crank the bunt way up, and you take advantage of, all those third basemen playing deep in a power era.
he has
No, he only
one
doesn't bunt from
sack
hit. He
hit.
only sack bunts, but he should be sack bunting basically every time he gets up with runners on base.
He has one sack hit in 109 plate appearances.
Okay, but he's hopefully at least got. Then I guess it's just a defensive card.
Yeah, He's just a defensive card. I
And
think
to be
he.
fair, in this format, it's a defensive card that doesn't cost you a lot of points.
Oh yeah, 3 points is pretty good. All right, we've talked about Fairfax quite a bit. Let's take a look at who he's against in the who's up against. So yeah, so Spotswood pulls Buzz Clarkson instead of the champ LRB, and then Edgar Wesley, who apparently is just a really good card for this format. Pfeffer Redis, who's also another really good card. I feel like this is a
Is
little
it,
bit more of
and
a
he's running Clarkson at third though. I guess because Clarkson's a bat is probably a worse shortstop than third baseman.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and he's got Austin, so he's going defensive.
Yeah, no, another zero power card. So that's really interesting. So what we're learning is that these zero power cards, you know, also yeah, he's running Heathcote as well. So that's three cards with essentially single digit power.
But with non-zero home runs, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, they all hit. Yeah.
Only Spotswood pulls without a home run. Yeah, this is. It feels like the engine tries to make things happen, and so you get people with not a lot of power still hitting home runs.
I wonder who the homer was off. If it was off, kind of a really low movement guy. But
For
unfortunately, there's no good way to search, the game logs.
for Austin,
Yeah. So unless
that's
he just hit it or
disappointing.
something, you wouldn't be able to search it easily. But
It was yeah, it was against the Elder Panthers. Actually, should be in here. Frankie Austin hit a solo home run in the ninth against Reedy. Uh, where did Reedy come in?
but this is so have the aviators also then kind of gone for this just max movement, max range. They weren't quite as extreme, right?
Right. They went with the pretty high movement, but they kind of all looked for at least you know six looks like 60 or better stuff in control to go with that elite movement. Um, and there's definitely spent more to get that. Um, but those are pitchers that I would have expected to produce a little bit better in this format. Um,
Yeah. Well, I think as much as it's a counting stat, they're also second in ZR. So I think we're learning that, at least for the two finalists, they both really emphasized the defense and seem to have gotten it right. But the rest of the build's quite different, right? Aviators 72 home runs, which again, it's a counting stat, but still that's almost two a game, right?
could be somewhere right around two. I mean, because Fairfax took 35 games to get here. Um, let's see how many.
I can
Oh,
check.
I guess Aviators
Aviators
40.
have played 40.
Okay, so it's not quite to a game, but still, it's pretty high and well above the average that we had from last week.
So, talking about last week, let's take a look at uh, let's take a
Yeah.
look
Another
at
another thing actually that's surprising. Actually, I don't know that I've ever seen a combination like this in kind of an extended thing. Um, so both of these teams are actually getting really bad base running numbers, despite kind of this emphasis on speed guys.
let's take a
Well,
look
So
at
Charlotte is second in stolen bases, 106th in base running. Fairfax first in stolen bases, 122nd in base running.
this. Does seem to be a format where it's a 60% stolen base success rate, at least in the one tournament. base running is fairly neutral. I have it at minus 0.45 in 600 plate appearances. Error rating, you're not getting a ton of errors, so it's a pretty it plays pretty straight up, I would say.
Yeah, so that's interesting then that it seems like the point is that the big value you get out of running Spotswood, which again, both the finalists are doing, so it's working. But you're actually running Spotswood, but you're not running him for his base running.
So even if we look at, maybe this is too big of a sample size, but if we look at, say, like the top 10 for center fielders, yeah, Spotswood is not doing stuff with his bat. He's doing it.
No, he's not doing the bat. He's not base running, but you are getting a ton of value, especially with these builds. You're getting a ton of value out of his range.
All right, let's see if I can do this hide score. Tournament scores, and then we go back a day.
So what you do is just don't switch. Just don't switch over to
All right.
that panel until you're ready. So at
Setting up,
least then, kind of, yeah, because
setting
that
up
way
the
at least you're
highlight reel.
right.
All right, let's see what the first thing tells us. So it's the top of the first. Pennock's pitching. Oh, Spotswood pulls that bat. Diamond Cutter's got a 2-0 lead. Pennock has a 4-2 with a 3.55 ERA. Ellerbay's leading off. That is so weird.
For Charlotte. So I guess it's just kind of. Well, I guess this is just the result of not having had an off day because they took 2 extra games in the semis.
Oh no! It was a ground ball to Ellerby, and Ellerby being the
Oh,
defensive wizard he was, uh, was able to get him out. So we're up to the top of the second now. There's a line drive to right center. Now Pfeffer is I guess Pfeffer's just a card that everyone's playing.
I think just because it's one of the few cards from that era with power and a middle infielder.
Right. Arlett is down the line to score Pfeffer, and he's safe at second. I'm just so confused by this. This is really bizarre because I don't know if it's just the defense isn't up to snuff, but yeah, it just looks like everyone is every hit is a run basically. So yeah, we got pulls.
Curious, by the way, I'm just looking at that scoreboard here, and it does look a little interesting here in the seventh.
2 errors when I was saying that there is no errors per game, or what?
That was not quite the part that drew my interest, but let's
You go
go
a
with
little
that.
bit left of the errors.
Uh-oh. Well, there we go. Perfect game's broken up.
The problem is you made us draw too much attention to it.
I thought we handled that as well as could be.
For a real broadcast.
Yeah.
I was trying, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Lazy pop fly.
that would have been kind of fun. That once you get into this era, throw a perfecto or something.
Oh, so it's bottom of the ninth. No one on. One out. We have Earl Hamilton. Has he been pitching the entire time, or is he?
Yeah.
He must be because in this cap format, no one's really deep enough to run a ton of bullpen.
So we got basically everyone playing straight up. There's no excessive shifting, even though Beckwith's a pull hitter. He it is in my best DRC voice, fire John Beckwith. But yeah, let's see what happens. Oh, oh my, that is long.
Well, you know what? There's one definite bit of consolation there, which is I don't think there's anything you could have done with the shift that would have fixed that.
Didn't want to play corners in on John Beckwith. Now, now, this is what guard lines. Is this what this defensive positioning is?
Yeah. So okay. So it's 6-0. They're not, but it's 6-1 now. I guess they're guarding lines. They've had enough.
Yeah. Now Pfeffer at bat. Oh, he's got struck out. Oh
All
my.
right. Well, you know what that means is we've got a series.
You always like it when when it's not just a
Oh
clean
yeah.
sweep.
Oh, you always want to see it go 7.
Yeah. As
Much
I
more fun. Um,
So yeah, so let's go back to just kind of looking at some of the no, that's not the one. Breakdown. So we looked at Spotswood. Does LRB even show up on the top 10? No. So last week, almost no one played LRB. A lot of people played George Davis. I'm not sure if many people played George Davis this year.
how many played Spotswood last week? Because I think Spotswood's kind of the typical, you only want to run this card if you're maximizing defense sort of card, right? Like that seems to be the.
So he got 721 plate appearances last week. So
703 as a center fielder in air quotes, as limited by the. Seemed like the one that was played the most was Al Simmons, who seemed okay, maybe not the best defensively, but he was a positive bat. He was a
well,
little
and
bit of
he
a
was
liability
one
in
of the
center.
best bronze hitters last week. If you're just looking at the bronze options, Hafey, Joe Harris, and then Simmons were really like the only bronzes that really, were able to hit against, higher level than bronze pitching. So that's interesting to see.
Um,
That
yeah,
that's one of the other things about a cap like this is because it's a relatively low cap and the gap between kind of high bronze and low diamond is somewhat limited. You actually are running a real bullpen if you're just kind of running a bronze pen. You're not punting the way that you would, with a 40 bottom of the cap.
No, and especially there's a lot of the pitchers that I think most people are using a good amount in the bullpen are some of the strongest bronzes we've seen for the cycle. Slim Love, Nat Brucker, Freddie Shupp, Dave Barnhill, Bob McClure. Those are pretty high up on the bronze scale, and they've been cards that kind of have played above their level all season. So when you strip out this pool into a very limited player pool, they do really shine.
Yeah.
they're all like huge swing and miss guys. Like they're all over 10K per nine. I think they suppress home runs other than Ferdy Shupp.
That 10K per nine is crazy because, I mean, Slim Love, I'm trying to remember his stuff, but it's not, you know, we're not talking about like Edwin Diaz here.
He's got 74, but
Yeah.
I think it's just a product of the era where walks are fairly suppressed, home runs are exaggerated, and Ks are exaggerated too. Like Fairfax
Yeah, but
Diamond Cutters was
I almost wonder what would happen, if there's some kind of thing where it's kind of trying to normalize differently across when you change eras.
oh
I kind
100%.
of wonder what would happen if I just run a huge stuff pitcher next week.
Like Marmal
Like, what
or
happens
something
if
like
you
that.
run 110 stuff guy? Is there one in the pool at all, even if he's got bad shape elsewhere?
Bob Feller is
Someone was at 13
is
Yeah,
over
Feller is
100.
super high, super high, super low. Is it that Feller? I'm
38381.
trying to
Yeah.
remember.
So let me pull him up. So he's 116 stuff, 97 movement, 31 control, and uh, last week he had 13.1 K per nine, 6.27 walks per nine, but was the second best right-handed starter. Um, very
So,
very
yeah,
limited sample
so
size. We're talking about like under 400 innings, um, but yeah, very he was very productive.
If we were going to look at starters, yeah, Feller is here with the 1339. But yeah, that walk per nine. Like I feel like looking at this now, like I feel like you just load up on right-handed bats, power bats. And you just hope that you can the outslug the movement.
yeah, maybe, but that was kind of my thinking for how to approach it. But I think after seeing what the finalists have done this week, I think I'm gonna try something more like what these two builds are next week. I think maybe with a couple little tweaks, I think I might look for a couple different combinations of some of the. Particularly, I might look for some rangy cards with a little more pop and kind of be willing to give up the strikeouts or something. Uh, Actually, how often is Spotswood striking out? I should check that because he also has this huge avoid K, and if the Ks are this high in this format, maybe that's actually important.
Yeah, it definitely seems like uh it's way easier to get strikeouts in this. So
Yeah.
So it looks like his strikeout rate was 14%, um, which doesn't I don't see anybody with a lower one among the guys who are heavily used.
Yeah, which is actually really good given how high strikeouts have been in this format.
so if you
The highest level are basically double that at just under 30.
Yeah.
so a few interesting
Yeah, I think
notes.
it's one to look at.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
what's the plan for game four? Do you want to run it? Do you want me to run it?
I have it up and running. But just a few things I wanted to point out. Like to your point earlier, you're saying it's important that Fairfax had time off and Charlotte didn't. Jim Brown is
Yeah.
at 45% for this game for the Aviators, where
I think that's after the game. He's going to be at 45. I think that's the way that's
oh
listed.
that's how it's listed. Oh, okay,
I
but
believe so.
so yeah, on the mound we have I think this is SP5 Grover Loadermilk. So yeah, let's just run through this and see what happens. Heinsohn isn't gonna fire on time, guys and gals. If you're here watching, join Heinsohn so it fires on time.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm not actually as shocked by that. So that's the tournament which is most affected by the tops bunt, I suppose.
Oh man, I
So
have like
I think there's gonna be a huge gap in the Hindstone this week between the teams that have completed those missions and the teams that haven't.
Edgar Wesley doing work.
It was interesting, Charles. The overnight cap was I didn't think was first of all there weren't that many teams that did have all the Topps cards. I think there were only five, but none of them did particularly well. But I do agree that the Heinsohn just player pool, those Topps cards stand out a lot more
Yeah,
than they would in an open cap versus the.
so I just ran kind of my model on the Hindstone to see what that looks like for 77. It's pretty tops bunt dominated. So like your five of your top six starters are tops bunt, and the other is the Clayton Kershaw PTCS card. Top two relievers and eight of the top nine position players. Now it's a
I
cap, and you can't play every single one of those.
Right.
Um, but like if it were open, the difference between a tops bunt build and a no tops bunt build, uh, wow, I have it 40 WAR. That's kind of crazy.
John Becker
Yeah,
with another home run.
I definitely think with the cap it would be a good bit lower than that, but
Yeah,
still,
if I run it as a cap, then let me see what that drops to. So let's say you were to run like four starters and six position players. It's a cap number of around 10? Is that right? I'm trying to remember.
think
Wait, no, it's a little bigger, right? It's
it's a little bit
1777.
it's closer to 12.
12. Okay. So let's say I run this as yeah. I'm just quick. I've got the tool set up to do this finally. All right. Let's say I run this as like four starters, one reliever, seven position players for the cap. Still pretty big actually, uh, because it's dominated by the top end. So still in the low 30s.
So is this comparing like a full tops team to a an average team, or like what would have been a really good team for this format a week ago?
So the way I'm doing it is I'm comparing it to essentially cards, sort of the average card in the pitching range, like sixth to 10th starter, basically the second tier. So I'm trying
Okay,
to compare it to like an A minus or B plus team,
got it.
except that I'm excluding tops bunt and limited edition cards.
Okay,
So, for example, for the starters, the tops bunt, kind of end up the top one. If you don't have tops bunt, then you're running the packable Wainwright, the build a lineup Kevin Brown, that type.
sure.
But the bigger edge is the batters. We because essentially we just got released almost at every position what is by far the best bat in the modern era at that position.
Right. I think first base would probably be the only position, and catcher would be the other one where that wouldn't be necessarily be true.
Yeah, so catcher, I still like Piazza. First base, I have the Goldschmidt as second best behind the limited edition Pujols. But that's also a limited edition,
Sure.
so that's not an easy card to get.
No.
So yeah, I think this is a format where the top spunt cards are really going to shine.
This is why we picked Tournament Lab to be accessible, where people don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's good to have different things in the rotation. Uh, you know,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
a
there's
mixture. You want a mixture of things that reward card collecting more and reward kind of everyone has the same deck of cards, just build it more.
there's
Oh,
22 weekly formats. I think there's only four where the top spawn perfect cards even are eligible. the Open, Overnight Cap, the Heinzen, and then the Thursday Special Edition. Um, those are the
Yeah.
only four formats where you can even play those cards. Looked like from the overnight, it was it looked like good teams that didn't have the many of the top spun cards. I only had two of them, and and I did well. I think
I think that's two more than I have, so
okay.
you're ahead of me.
The five teams with Otani, two lost in the first round, one lost in the second, and two made it to round four, and nobody made the quarters. So I don't think that I'll expect that Heinzen will be much tougher for teams that don't have because you're right. It's not just a couple guys. It really is like the whole. Could be close to the whole lineup. Um, if people are going for stars and scrubs, they're probably using 10 or 11
Yeah.
top one perfect cards. Um, and
Hey, while we do this, by the way, game 5 I think just fired. I can set it up if you want me to. Let me see if I can push it to the Discord or if that's going to fail. But I think I can set that up and take a shot.
Sure.
Give me a moment just because I want to wait until it's spoiler free.
Okay. Just wanted to talk
That's
about Jose Munoz. Didn't feel like he was. Oh no, he's up here. I was going through some of the predictions and seeing that Tient, Vandermeer, Munoz, then Lee Meadows, Griffith, and Hamilton. They all kind of
yeah,
are still up there in terms of
yeah, that
actual
makes sense.
usage. Dave Danforth is one that's a bit of an outlier from last week.
That was one that was always a nice card if he had enough stamina, right?
He's pitched 105 pitches per game started, so
I guess it's worked.
hmm,
yeah.
That's more than I would have thought they could get away with, by quite a bit actually.
Yeah, I figured the 1998 also kind of allows you to like stamina kind of goes out the window. Probably there's less of a drop off. Regeneration is higher.
Yeah. All right. Should we see how game 5 did? I think this should be see if this works now to switch over, and if it does, then I can try it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to set it up as a source in the Streamlab.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if you stream, I can kind of pop it out. Oh, you have it. You are streaming. Okay.
I've got it in the Discord. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Does
Let's
that
see.
work?
Just a moment. Source.
It's all right. Wouldn't be one. It wouldn't be something I was trying to stream if there weren't technical difficulties, right? Or something like that. But yeah, we've got a game 5 that at 2-2 I believe we're contractually required to call pivotal. So
I will let you know when it's up.
sounds good.
We
Um,
are kind of live. I have to just
okay.
shift stuff around.
So actually, I guess one thing to note is that after this game, it's going to be Fairfax now that's going to have to deal with a lot of fatigue for game 6. So,
You can go.
all right, is this working?
Yep.
All right, well, here we go. So, game 5, Fairfax and Charlotte. Sad Sam Jones, which I think is Charlotte's ace now, right? Kind of finally cycling around.
yeah.
To Lou Blue, because Spotswood's sitting, and Lou lines to right, and that's how we'll start with a simple line out. Let's go bottom one. So Kurt Fullerton, who's had himself a pretty good tournament here, but he's got 2 on with 2 out, and the dangerous Wilson Reedus at the plate. 1-0. Little flare in the left, coming on fast, is going to fall for a hit. Pfeffer's around third. He will score easily, and Charlotte takes the lead 1-0 here in Game 5. We're going third. We're going to the top third now, though. So Fairfax did get out of it. Sad Sam Jones has scattered 4 hits, but he's now got Pfeffer on with 2 down for the cleanup hitter, Edgar Wesley. No, hold on, it's a pickle. He's got him picked off. Soon they'll they will get the out at second. And Pfeffer's erased. All right. This is good. We've even had a pickle here, right? All right, top 4. Sad Sam still got the shutout going into the 4th. 2 down. The 1-2 to Chick Hafey is hit in the air to deep left. Back at the wall, and it is a tie ball game. 324 feet, and it is 1-1. So I'm just going to change the play-by-play speed a little fast. All right. Bottom 4 now, and it is the Aviators' Chick Hafey. And he rips one to center. He's going to find the gap. Around third and scoring on the double. Why is it? Sorry, it's just freezing for a second. All right, I think that's working again. All right. 2-1 into the 6th here. Sad Sam still working on a pretty good game. The 1-1 to Wesley is belted to left center and deep. Back goes Spotswood. It is gone. 2-2.
Mic on.
7.
Mic feedback
Kurt
off.
Fullerton now. Dealing with the leadoff hitter Petway. Grounder to second, and he boots it. See, we do tournament lab, and you still can't get away from this, right? So now Heathcote is going to bunt him over. Do you like that decision in this format?
I mean, in this format, no, but with the build of these teams, it probably makes a little bit more sense.
Yes, the other thing is you're bunting him over for Frankie Austin and Spotswood Poles, who really, aren't your big bats.
Right.
But, all right, Weldon Wyckoff coming into the game here to face Austin. So they do go to the pen. He's got him 0-2. The 0-2, he went 2 down. And so now Spotswood Poles, and he's got him 2-2, although we know Poles does not strike out much. So the 2-2 to Poles, swing and a miss. Always make the commentator look stupid, and we're going 8. All right, bottom 8. What do we got? Base is empty. 1 out, and the 0-2 to Edgar Wesley is crushed to right. That is going to be gone in a hurry. And the Aviators are now 3 outs away from winning this pivotal Game 5. Sad Sam's going to try to finish what he started, but it is going to be the heart of the order, Pfeffer, Wesley, and Beckwith. And this is actually a pretty big spot because it looks like those are all going to be sitting in Game 6 for Fairfax. So, Pfeffer first. The first pitch is hit in the air to deep right. It's back at the wall. Tie game. They tried to get one more inning out of Jones, and it didn't work. And they're going to leave him in. You like this?
Not at all.
All right. Edgar Wesley, the 2-2 to Wesley. At the knees, strike 3. Just do the opposite of what the commentators say, right?
Exactly.
All right, hold on. Beckwith walks, and they're still leaving Jones in. It looks like they're guarding the lines, but they're not at double play depth. Is that right for Hafey? We've already got the homer on the day. The 1-0 to Hafey is hit in the air to deep left center. That is back and is gone. 425 feet, and it is a 5-3 Fairfax lead. And I really got a question leaving Sad Sam Jones in for that ninth inning.
That was quite the meatball.
That was.
That was two meatballs.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wyckoff is actually going to try to finish this. What do we got? So we got Heathcote, Austin, and Poles, but if they can get around, the heart of the order's after that. So Heathcote first. The 3-2 swung at a pitch at his ankles. That made him look bad there. All right. Austin next. Nope, it's the pinch hitter, Sammy Strang. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Sammy Strang does have a 99 eye. Wyckoff has 32 control. The 3-1 to Strang isn't even close. And the tying run will come to the plate in the form of Spotswood Poles. Monty Weaver, huh? All right, Monty Weaver coming in. I don't think we've looked at this card before, actually, have we?
I don't think I've looked at it really much at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what he does. 15 hold runners, but that doesn't matter so much. And it looks like they're playing this straight away. So the 1-0 to Poles. Ground to second. Could be two. To short for one. And okay, you're not going to double off Spotswood Poles. So still alive for Buzz Clarkson, who does have a bit of pop. 2-1 from Weaver here. Poles, I guess, not running here because they need the 2 runs. The 2-1, grounder back to the mound. To first to end it, and he drops it. Fairfax, all he had to do was toss it to the bag. But instead, we've got the 2-out, bottom of the 9th error, and Edgar Wesley is the winning run at the plate. Wait a sec. Is that Bruce Petway in right also?
That is Bruce Petway in right. And Vic Harrison center.
I guess because they were trying to find offense. Well, Harris is fine in center, but Petway didn't think was. Yeah, I don't know. Well, here we go. The 1-1 to Wesley. Grounder to short. He's just going to take it himself. He's not going to risk a throw, and Fairfax takes the 3-2 lead. That was an interesting ninth.
I know a lot of people were kind of talking about deployment and how.
Oh, here, you want to switch off the
Yep, I'm
line
off
for 1 second? Just
Yep.
switch it off. Just switch me off, just so that I can not spoil anything for Game 6.
Yeah, you're hidden. So
All right.
one thing that actually I'll throw up my OOTP. One thing that people we're always curious about is kind of like how do uh-oh.
What?
Nothing.
Oh no! Don't throw. You need to throw up the OT. I can find it. I just have to.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to load it spoiler free because it always takes a little.
No,
it takes a sec to do that.
I wanted to talk about bullpen arrangement and how your bullpen setup impacts usage. So a lot of people think, hook sliders are really important. The aggressive tiredness hook is really important. And a lot of people don't know how any of that, or don't believe any of that actually works. And it's kind of interesting. So this is my Heinsohn cap build, and I have everyone set as a Miller reliever. This is
Just because
probably
you don't trust the.
No, I think usually I run a couple of stoppers. And I have them secondary closers. And then I have a couple of middle relievers, and then I have 3 middle relievers, and then 2 long relievers that as a secondary are middle relievers. And I think something that I've struggled for a long time Of course, I'm doomed. I've been doomed for like 6 months, Mr. Audit. Um, so I think giving the manager AI more options is probably better. And what I mean by more options is that a lot of people they go and they play with a strategy with like prefer left right pitching matchups, left right batting matchups. But if you don't, I feel like if you don't have a proper bullpen to support your sliders, you're not going to have a
Then
good time.
no, because it's just going to bring in the bad lefty instead of the good righty.
Yeah. So that's one thing I've focused a little bit more in perfect drafts uh and in are we ready to go?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
ready when you are.
Okay.
But I figured I'd let you finish the point you were making. All right. Here we go. Game 6 could be the last one, or we could get a game 7. And I'll admit that this commentator's rooting for a game 7. But although if it goes 7, it looks like Charlotte's going to deal with some pretty severe fatigue issues. Uh, Fairfax, on the other hand, okay, so Petway's tired. So I see. So what happened was Petway was tired. He was trying to sit last game, but they stuck him in right field, trying to make that comeback. So they've now got a tired catcher behind the plate. All right, here we go. Hank Gornicki going to try to win it. Aviators with Spotwood sitting are going to lead off with Sammy Strang here. The 1-2 from Gornicki. When we get the little pregame out there. Here we go. The 1-2 grounded to second. No problem for Egan. And that's how we begin. We're going to skip ahead to the bottom of the second here. So this is Irv Young, who, remember that the reason Irv Young is throwing this is basically because those extra off days. So Burns on first, and the 2-1 to that tired Petway is lined into right center, and that's going to fall. Petway into second with a double. They're going to wave him, and Burns will score. And it is 1-0 Fairfax, who are now 7 innings away from winning this tournament. But Gornicki in trouble in the third. So Clyde Engel on second. Clarkson on first for the dangerous Edgar Wesley. He does have him down 1-2, though. The 1-2 is lined into center, and that's going to fall. Around third is Engel, and they will hold him with 2 out. I really don't like that decision.
Gotta crank that
Especially
base
with
running slider.
Yeah, especially with how good these teams are defensively. You gotta send him there, don't you? Does Engel have any speed? All right. Well, they're going to leave it up. To be fair, if you're going to leave it up to one hitter, Fred Pfeffer's a pretty good choice. So here we go. Bases loaded. Biggest spot of the series. The 2-2. Hitting the air to right, but not deep. Ooh. No problem for Arlett. He's under it. The Aviators leave the bases loaded, and we're going to see if they come back, if it comes back to haunt them, that they did not send the runner with 2 out. We're going top 5 now. And Engel again has himself on. The 3-2 to Strang. Ball 4, and they've got the first 2 on with no out for the heart of the order. Normally I wouldn't ask this, but the way this series is going, are you bunting Clarkson here?
He can't bunt. Look at that bunt.
Actually, yeah. Ooh, yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay. You know what? Looking at that bunt, I guess you're not bunting Clarkson there.
No, let him hit it. Let him hit a ding dong.
All right, here we go. The 2-0 to Clarkson. Wait a second, he is bunting.
Oh man,
Worse.
the AI manager is wise beyond years.
I gotta say, if there's one thing we've learned clearly, it's that you should not let us commentators anywhere near a dugout. All right. Well, Wesley now, if he knocks it through the infield, probably they take the lead. The 1-2 from Gornicki,
Oh my
swing and a
goodness.
miss. He got him with the what?
Just surprised.
Okay.
Absolutely astonished.
Got him with the splitter. And so it is yet again Fred Pfeffer. 3-2 to Pfeffer. Not sure what the pitch around sliders are, but I wouldn't hate putting him on here. The 3-2, and they do put him on. It's going to be up to Wilson Reedus. And we got him 2-2. So 2-2 to Reedus. The 2-2 is popped up. Playable. No problem for Egan. And for the second time this game, they strand the bases loaded. All right, bottom six here. Irv Young still has a pretty good game going himself. Thompson on first for Lou Blue, trying to get a little insurance. And Blue lines it back through the box for a hit. Thompson around second. He's on his way to third and will get there standing up. Runners at the corners, and actually, let's just go ahead and make it 2-0 with 2 out here. Spotswood pulls on second, will almost certainly score on a single. Irv Young trying to keep him in it. The 1-1 to Blue. Hold on, a fan has wandered onto the field. Okay, the 1-1 to Blue is hit in the air to center, and that'll be over his head and off the wall. Spotswood scores. Blue is on his way to third with a 2-run triple, and it is 4-0 Fairfax. And actually, we're going to skip ahead. 4-0. Gornicki trying to complete a shutout. Frankie Austin on first, but Sammy Strang is down to the last strike for the Charlotte Aviators. The 1-2 to Strang. Grounded to second. Egan's got it. Over to first, and Fairfax has won the tournament lab 4-2. So congratulations to Fairfax. Here, I can pull up a box score. 7 hits shutout for Gornicki.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That is their...
So what are they?
So, yeah. And
Charles, tell him what he wins.
The swing point in the series, so I guess the 2 swing points in the series, I think. One maybe was just the fatigue difference, in terms of like getting the rotation set. And the big one seemed to be kind of these sliders and decisions in Game 5.
Which slider decisions?
I'd say the sliders and decisions. So the decision to leave Sad Sam in, I think that one probably, the manager might want back. And also a lot of these, it's always tough to tell from the animation, but it really felt like the base running made a pretty big difference too. Stopping all those runners at third.
And it's tournament batch 2, so
yeah. So you're getting yourself a choice pack from tournament batch 2, which could be some pretty playable cards. So
it could even be a boat. So thanks for the play-by-play.
I guess that's a good question. Which is all right. While we're doing this, which is the card you most want to see in your choice pack right now? And which is the card that you least would want to see, or which 6 cards would you least want to see in your choice pack?
So for batch two, I would be, certainly happy with a Roger Connor, Shoeless Joe Jackson, um, any of the ones that are in the War 3, the CC3 War mission. I think you can at least get like 150 to 200,000 still for those. Um,
If I got one of those, I might actually hold it because when these cards go out of packs, that mission is going to become incredibly tight.
that is true. Um, Pete Alexander is still a useful card. For
Yeah, I'm running Alexander still in my league team.
And then in terms of the worst ones, I'm trying to think of what's really bad right now. Um,
There's still Thurman Munson.
yeah, the Blylevin is in a CC mission, but still isn't really worth anything because you can just buy the other cheaper Blylevin.
Yeah, there's that Jose Ramirez, which if you were in a mission would probably be nice, but
Is
kind of has
that
been superseded now.
is Andrew Jones in TB2?
That's actually a card I would love to buy off somebody.
Yeah,
That Andrew Jones.
I'm running Hines now, so Jones is kind of a logical upgrade.
Yeah, I think Jones is part of batch three. I think because he was a PGCCS reward, and then will be in regular circulation in batch three.
Kind of excited for that Maddox, the Gary Maddox. I mean,
Oh, the legend that the legend card.
yeah, the super range.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's a fun card. There were a lot of really interesting fun cards in that free pack. Besides just, I mean, a lot of people obviously focused on the Glavin, um, but there were a ton of really interesting cards.
yeah.
And I'll be interested to see because I think so many people, took a Glavin to play Glavin, and then nothing was selling super well the first day or two, but then now a few of the players have really skyrocketed up. Like I brought, who's the shortstop? Bancroft.
Bankrupt. So this is one of the things that I actually think the economics of this are going to get interesting with choice packs for the tournament 3 too. That the more of those cards come from choice packs, the the more that the correct thing to do if you're selling the card will be to pick the thing that nobody else is picking, which kind of becomes a fun game.
Yeah, that was the thing I was thinking about in terms of most likely we're going to see these legend cards in either the CC5 or some other mission, and there'll be tons of Glavins and Bancrofts and some of the other ones, but some of the ones that don't really play anywhere, probably very few people pick that as the card that they wanted out of that pack, unless they were thinking ahead that or they had multiple teams and just want to take a different card on every team.
See, mine was an easy decision because I didn't get offered any of the 5 that I was most interested in. So
I,
anything I wanted, I had to buy anyway.
I was lucky. I got Glavin, and then I picked up Bancroft and Maddox for pretty cheap. So I have at least the
I
three.
still want a Maddox, but I did pick up the Carruthers for tournaments, although I was realizing that it's not quite clear which cap formats he fits in because there have been several good two-way cards released recently.
Like a Shohei Ohtani. So
And there have also been several good and there have also been several good two-way cards that my team might get.
so just to wrap up, Aster did do his little review, so I have that up if you want to join on the Discord to see what I'm streaming, Aster.
Okay. Yeah. So this was a new slide I put together that I hadn't shown before. This is the daily tournaments, looking at the top teams in terms of points per tournament. So I kind of cut it off at anybody that had accumulated at least 1,000 points, um, and and seeing how many points are people averaging per tournament. It's pretty impressive. Palatine Plutos is number one by far in points, and just about at the top in points per tournament. Underground Turtle Bears always seems to be at or near the top the weeks that they play, and then they seem to have taken a number of weeks off, and so they're the highest in points per tournament, but are trailing pretty far behind in total points just because they played a lot less tournaments. And then there's a number of teams that are, uh, you know, probably more weekly tournament players, but there are, so you see only entering like 300 or 400 tournaments. Probably they're playing weeklies or playing quicks most of the time, but they're sneaking in some, some dailies and doing pretty well. So just wanted to kind of present some of the numbers we've been looking at, but in a little bit better way. So, Mr. Audit, it sounds like you are, essentially spamming dailies, and might not be getting quite as many points per tournament. Here, I can probably look you up and see. I don't think you were.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how many dailies I've actually played.
I think I get about 20 a week, maybe.
So, Mr. Audit, The Walking Dead just missed the list. They are at 2.94 points per tournament. So you were 13th, tied for 13th with the Florence Baycats.
Where am I? How far down the list am I? It's gonna take you a while to find it.
I did not. I did not go that
I'll
far.
ask about me too. So just start at the bottom, and start scrolling up.
You have on the list at 2.67 points per tournament.
Well, that's not bad, because I think there was a period where I accidentally ran this for 2 weeks and all of my builds were broken and I didn't notice. So that hurt a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I definitely have had a couple weeks where I realized usually it's just only like a particular format, but I definitely had 1 week where I realized that every format for like a couple days I was running the wrong.
So I had
at least was close enough that I still kind of did okay, but it certainly wasn't optimal.
So my problem was after the PTCS that had choice packs. I got a duplicate Hera, a duplicate Moral, tried to sell both, and broke every single build that had either of those cards in it. So,
yeah, I get very nervous whenever I had a choice pack where there were no particularly good options, so I grabbed another Jack Clark, and I was terrified to sell it because I figured it would ruin all the lineups that I had Jack Clark in. So next slide on the list is it's basically the same thing, but just looking at weekly tournaments. And Mike ABC, retired from weekly tournaments pretty early on, but was dominating them at the time. So he's at the top of the list, and I had a very good week last week, so I pumped up my numbers a little bit. I think I was under 4 points per tournament, but now I'm a good bit over. And let's see. Yeah, so Charles, looks like you're just outside the top 10 in points per tournament, but I think you're easily in the top 10 in wins. And I think you're top 10 in points as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll pick it up a little in the second half, but it's tough because it's this mixture of formats, and so if you it's sort of whether you commit to running all of them.
Yeah.
So for
Um,
overall,
so this is just top 10 finishes, each week. These are the people across all the four different PGCS formats that are accumulating the most top 10s. Um, and
You're doing okay for yourself.
Yeah, weekly tournaments. I don't quite know how I'm able to slide into the top 10. Like I have a lot of good weeks, and then my bad weeks, I somehow pick up a win late or a good run late, and then just slide into like eighth or ninth to stay in the top 10. But
do you think
Well, I
it's
guess it's also that you commit to a format, right? Because so for the first three or so PTCSs, I decided to commit to trying to qualify handily for both. So I'd be running like the 10 weeklies I was most interested in and a bunch of dailies, but not
right.
kind of running enough of either to go for the top 10 bonus.
well? I think in
Yeah,
terms of tournaments played, like you've played pretty much like 99% of them, right, Aster?
yeah. There have been a couple points in the season where you like the timing had to be right to get into certain tournaments, and if you made a deep run, I would wake up and would already be filled. But basically, I've entered every weekly tournament, and then I just try and fill in dailies like just enough to qualify. And a couple of times I've had to play like extra the last week because I went into the last week of the period at like 120th in points and dailies, and ended up in like the 90s because I played more that week. But I really haven't. I've only been playing around 10 or 15 dailies per week, and I like the dailies, and I would like to. I play them on my alt, which doesn't have quite as strong of a deck. But I would like to play more with my main. But at this point, I kind of feel like I'm pot committed to trying to stay at the top, which I don't know if that really is necessary, but
There,
don't
there.
really give it to me anything. But
I think I'm probably gonna switch over to dailies. Well, I'm gonna keep playing the 10 or so weeklies I like the most, but I think I'm gonna switch away from a few of the weeklies that are less accessible and start playing more dailies. Because I really like some of the daily formats, and I've kind of missed being able to play both.
There's a benefit to being bad at weeklies is that when you get bounced in round two, there's usually a daily that you can join that's going to start in
Well,
an hour.
well, during that couple week period where all of my dailies were broken, I think I managed to achieve the truly impressive, decathlon feat of entering all 10 in a day.
Oh wow.
well, so
Now
this
you got to
brings
have a really bad set of builds to do that.
here's the thing that blows me away though. I was looking at actually, I think it's not the next slide, but it's two down. There's a team played in 65 of the 70 weekly daily tournaments last week.
That sounds like about what I did that week where every build was broken. You basically couldn't sign up quickly enough because the next one would.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing: they scored like one of the 10 highest point totals for the year.
Yeah, but that's an accumulator thing. Must
Yeah,
be.
but I mean, it's still that you're talking. That's still talking about 4 points per tournament, or more than 4 points per tournament. It just feels like they had to have had some runs in there to get that many points.
Yeah.
Uh, it's actually not you, Mr. Audit. It's the Barred Owls. But you've definitely had a number of weeks in the 60s, which I thought was amazing. But to get to 65 just feels you clearly have to have a schedule where you're in front of the computer pretty regularly. But even beyond that, the timing would just think you would miss. Um, some of them. So
Yeah, that's also one that's probably like for me that's incompatible with being in Europe, I think, as well.
yeah.
So weekly tournament high points.
So weekly tournaments. Last week I had a week that I can't even really fathom. I won 3 tournaments and I finished second 3 times. So I ended up with 180 points, which broke my own record by over 40. And last year the record was 165 points, but in 27 tournaments. So I kind of felt tempted to just, announce my retirement and fade off into the sunset. And of course, I'm now having an absolutely atrocious week this week, and I think only have 2 cashes the whole week. So,
What?
It definitely regression came quick after the week I had last week, but it was to be expected.
So
My problem is just running bad deep in tournaments right now. Like I think I've lost the last 5 finals I've been in or something. And like no matter what the format, like I've literally lost the last 2 just open bronze finals. 128 teams, no problem making the final. Doesn't help.
what?
So,
Remind me again. Like, what's 8 points per tournament? Like, what do you get for whatever 19 to
that
30
means
second?
that means half third round, half fourth round wins. So half fourth round loss, half quarterfinal loss.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so you get 10 points for quarterfinal loss and 6 for a fourth round loss.
Oh, okay. So that's basically you cashed every tournament roughly.
Right. I ended
You
up cashing 9 of the 22 tournaments, but that most of the points came from making 6 finals. And,
that's
one of the 6, I was down. I was up 3-1 against JDA, and then in game 6, he
Battery
came
low.
back and scored 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth to beat me, and then beat me in game 7. So I came very close to winning 4 tournaments in a week, which just would have been beyond insane.
so
Um,
so
I
basically
remember last, yeah.
anyone on this except for I guess the Halos, they pretty much was like averaging about a cash a tournament.
yeah,
Charging battery.
yeah, that's about right. Yeah, six would be a cash per tournament on average.
Pretty good stuff right there.
It's a pretty solid result in there, I think. Yeah.
And then going over to the daily, this category has mostly been dominated by Red Eclipse this year, but Bard Owls has actually won the last 3 weeks in a row. And if you see fourth on the list is their week a couple weeks ago where they had 253 points playing 65 tournaments, which just blows my mind. That broke Mr. Audit's record where he scored the record 274 points in 64 tournaments, which I didn't think was possible. That it's really amazing to think that you can. I guess a couple weeks ago, before choice packs, we did have a lot more tournaments that were kind of going into quicks and sitting for a while. But also there was really felt like that was a period where there was at least one a day that got cut. So you couldn't just like hang around and wait. You had to be able to get in there and get into those. If you weren't already in. had to worry about them getting cut and then missing out. So definitely, pretty impressive to play in that, to just get to enter that many tournaments and then to score that kind of points is just amazing. And with this higher volume of tournaments, you see the points, even for the best weeks are nowhere near as high as for the weeklies.
Yeah.
And was that all I had for the slides?
Yep.
For this week? Okay.
Yep. That's the end of the slides.
Cool. So just two things I wanted to touch on real quick. First of all, we're 2 weeks in, but that also means we only have 2 or 3 more weeks of this format, and then we're going to switch to another one. What that format is may depend on all of you who are here listening to us. We are open to all kinds of ideas of what you'd like to see in a format. If there's things about this format that you'd like us to keep, if you'd like us to do something similar, but make a few changes, or you want to do something completely different to kind of test out some other aspect of the player pool, please reach out to Charles, to Extoforus, myself, or post in the Warbot Discord, post in Maine, send a carrier pigeon, anything you want to do to reach out. We'd love to hear your ideas.
We need ideas, and we love carrier pigeons.
Absolutely. And so, we if we have to, we'll come up with an idea again. But it was a lot more fun the second time around when we were kind of incorporating ideas we had from several people who had made suggestions, and we kind of put it all together and calculated cap and everything, and it was a lot more fun. So please let us know what you'd like to see for future tournament labs. Even if we don't get into the next format, it may be an idea that gets rolled into a future one. And then last thing I just wanted to mention is Heinsohn, I guess, is now in Quicks Exto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 33 spots left in Quicks. I agree that the tops cards are going to dominate, but that doesn't mean you can't sneak a cash in there, and it's if that ends up sitting for a while, it just slows everything down for tomorrow, and kind of messes with the flow of all the tournaments. So let's see if we can get that one fired at some point, hopefully soon.
The low iron brunch for tomorrow is actually almost as full as the Heinsohn, it looks like.
Oh wow!
Which is also going to stack things up then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that one's a choice pack. Although it's the tier 2 choice pack. It looks like Friday. Friday's tournaments, weekly tournaments, will be where the batch 3 choice packs kick in for all of the Friday and Saturday tournaments next week. So that should be fun.
Sounds good.
All right. Charles, anything else you want to add before we call it a night?
No, just thanks to everyone for both the community support and for, especially to Nico and everyone for kind of getting this set up. So.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun brainstorming ideas. It's been a lot of fun.
And hold on, you cannot mix horseradish and barbecue sauce. It's the one or the other.
On that note,
yeah,
we will talk to you guys soon.
Until next time. Bye.